And we are live on the Gamification Revolution. Hello, everyone. It's Gabe Zickerman. Nice to see you. It is a snowy, actually really snowy, winter storm PAX coming to you from New York City. And our guest today, Victor Manrique, is coming to us from Zaragoza, Spain, where apparently it's not that warm. Hi, Victor.
Hi, Gabe. Nice to have you here
You
today.
know, what's the point of living in Spain if it's not going to be sunny and warm all the time, right? Everyone,
Exactly.
wherever you are, welcome and thanks for being with us. For those of you who are here every week, great to see you again in the chat. For those of you who are new to the Gamification Revolution, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Before you can actually join in on this conversation, and you can do that in a couple of ways. You can chat, you can get on video and ask Victor and I questions. And this is a great day to be asking us questions about important design topics related to gamification. You have to log in with one of your social media contacts and use one of your social media accounts, log in here on Spreecast. And once you've logged in, then you can click the button to ask us a question or get live on camera and join us, ask whatever it is that you want. And of course, there's a vibrant chat where many of our regulars, Beth, Dutch, hi, everybody. Nice to see you, David, Michael, everyone who's here every week. Thanks for being back. Many of you know that G Summit, Gamification Summit, coming up in June, June 10th through the 13th in San Francisco. And you can find out more about it at gsummit.com. Lots of exciting speakers and sessions and workshops and so on, and more of those to come. But today's guest, Victor Enrique, some of you might know Victor's doing a MOOC. So, Victor, tell us about this massively online open course that you're doing and what prompted you to do it and what it's really about.
All right. So, first of all, thank you for inviting me to the animation show. I'm absolutely, I'm really happy. So, our move is, I'm sure many of the viewers have signed up for the Kevin Werbach's one, for the one on Coursera. So ours is something like I would call it a MOOC that is slightly different from it. It is something a bit more advanced. So it's a bit more focused on design. What, for example, in the one of Kevin Burbach, you get to know all the very basics of gamification, and that's when people usually ask me, so do we need something? Do we already need to know something to join your MOOC? And I said, no, absolutely. Just join Kevin's first, and then you get to know all the basics. And then ours is a bit more focused on design. So as I was saying, people, when they start, we will introduce them to gamification as if they don't know anything, as if they just get started. And then in the third week, we're going to start working on their own projects. So we are going to let them work on their own projects and apply gamification to those projects.
Oh, that's
We also
interesting.
have some kind of gamification. Exactly. So we also have some kind of gamification experience within the course. So people will be able to know what kind of designer they are. They will get their own designer profile, and that will be done with some kind of Dungeons and Dragons character sheet, you know that stuff. So that is also going to be a bit more fun because we want people to be engaged.
What,
I've been doing the one of yeah.
Yeah, so
Tell,
this
tell
is
me.
an interesting kind of point actually, because Kevin last year at G Summit, Kevin Werbach, who you mentioned does the famous big MOOC on Coursera about gamification. You know, last year Kevin came and talked a little bit about how you teach a course on gamification. You know, that fits within the mode of you know, an appropriate course, but also is slightly gamified. And he showed some of the ways that he's doing it, and it sounds like you're really kind of kicking that up a notch and really thinking a little bit more about you know, how that will help uncover this sort of profile of the designer. Why do you think it's important to know what kind of designer you are? I know why it's important to know what kind of consumer you're designing for, but what difference does it make what kind of designer you are?
All right. So, as you said, and also Kevin Werak said that last year. I also took his course. I think it's a fantastic move, and I recommend everyone to do it because you really get to know all the basic view of gamification. It is a fantastic one. So for us, we thought, all right, we want people to be more engaged, and we want people to do this kind of useful creative assignments. So we don't want people to just be keep on doing assignments that they don't really get something out of it rather than just learn a bit. All right, so we thought, how can we get people to learn more with those creative assignments? So we thought many people usually think, okay, I want to do gamification, but I'm not sure which are my strengths, or I don't know if I should focus on the technological part, if I should focus on the creative part, if I should focus on the story, or whatever. So we want people to discover what they do best, what is what they are absolutely fantastic at, and that is going to be done with the creative assignments. Apart from that, that is like the secondary part. The Our main objective is to get people to do their own gamification design document. So it's something similar to the game design document, obviously adapted to gamification special conditions. But when they finish our course, they will have their own gamification design document that will be absolutely ready to apply to their project. So they not only get that kind of knowledge, that kind of gamification knowledge, but they also get their own project, like just everything ready to apply it to that. So just knowing the type of designer is something fun to do. It is something that you will discover what are your strengths and how you where you should focus on. So it's
So
just that
one of
basic
the
idea.
discussions that's going on here in the chat, there's a number of different opinions about Kevin's course, and one of the things that folks have been kind of talking about, so Sasha saying he wasn't thrilled with the course, other folks, saying that it was okay, or Michael saying that he liked it, and the conclusion that people drew was that that main Coursera course, Kevin's one, is a sort of the introduction, which is kind of how you framed it. And your course is more about the design, a more practical design-oriented course. So my question for you is really, do you think that everybody who does gamification should ultimately actually design it or actually apply it in a practical design way?
That's a very interesting question. I don't really have an answer for that. I would say yes, but not everyone should become a gamifier, if we can call it like that,
No, we
because not
shouldn't call it
everyone
that,
is
but
going to
okay,
have a
we can
job
go.
in this.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to call it in that way, or gamification designer, or
Fine.
as you want to call it. That's all fine for me. So no, I don't think so, because not everyone is going to get a job in the industry, or not everyone likes designing games. For me, the most important thing is if you love designing gamification, if you love what you're doing, then you should go for it. But if not, well, not really. It's just this is the kind of course that you will get your gamification experience ready to be applied to your project, but it doesn't mean you have to keep on designing stuff. It's just something that will be useful for you, and you can get some kind of idea of how to design your own gamified experience, but it doesn't mean you're going to become a designer or something. That's not our objective at all.
Yeah, which is sort of interesting because, well, let me challenge that question for 1 second. Because really, to me, there's a tremendous amount of demand for gamification expertise and gamification knowledge. And the Dutch is asking, what's the design element as it's added to gamification? And I want to come back to the intersection of gamification and other design disciplines in a second. But my bigger thing is, I feel like the more people who have some design expertise in gamification, even if they don't end up using that in a sort of day-to-day way. So even if they're like an accountant, right, and that's what they do for a living, but they start to understand the human side of the design philosophies and principles of gamification, it feels like that can only improve the world at large and will only maybe even just improve their personal life. Do you agree with that? And what do you think it looks like if we could get, what would the world be like if we could get, 500,000 people, for example, certified in gamification design?
That will be awesome. I absolutely agree with that. I mean, the fact that I say that not everyone will become a gamification designer or something like that doesn't mean that everyone should get to know gamification. It is the same way as everyone should get to know a bit of coding. Everyone should get to know a bit of how gamification is working, and what is the most important, the motivation layer that is behind that, like how human motivation works and all the stuff. So yeah, I would say it's all right.
Do you think that there are others? So kind of getting to Dutch's question here about the design disciplines and gamification together. Other than game design, which it sounds like you're very focused on the intersection between game design and gamification design, what other design disciplines do you think need to be brought in if someone's going to do gamification design well?
So you mean which are the differences between game design and gamification design?
No, so other than game design, so game design is one discipline that gamification designer can use. Are there other elements that you think, like when you're planning your course, you're going to bring in other kinds of design disciplines? Like, do we care about digging in deeper in psychology? Do we care about, other sorts of UX or UI philosophies that might need to be important here?
Yeah, we are focusing on game design and also on psychology. Psychology is like a full week for us. It's like a full week for us, and the rest of it is mostly gamification design and game design. So we're just having all those three disciplines: psychology, game design, and gamification.
So, but what do you think about this challenge, Victor, which I think is a very big issue when we are conflating game design and gamification design? I feel like game designers have very, very poor track record of quality. So the game design discipline itself is riddled with assumptions and ideas that are based on patterns of success. And part of the reason that we have such formulaic output in game design is this sort of pattern matching thing, which is so prevalent in game design. How do we take that and transcend that and make it more predictable and make it more likely to be successful? Because if we use the same design discipline as game designers and we had the same results as game designers, I think we would be quite disappointed.
Well, this is also a very interesting point because the fight between game designers and or gamification designers, if we want to call it like that, is a big one. So it is a big challenge for us to let everybody know that the gamification design is something serious, that is not something like we just made up or something like that. So your basic question was like what is like the main difference or how gamification design is it's a known discipline or where do you want to
No,
see it
it's
go?
how do we make it better? Because game design sucks. To put it mildly, game
Oh,
designers are really bad at their jobs. So if our success
all
rate was the
right.
same as the game industry success rate, so I just want to bring this back, we can use some numbers. Less than 10% of games that are designed are actually successful, like meaning they make back the money that was
Oh,
spent on them. We need to do a lot better than that,
oh,
right? So Brian Burke says we're going to fail at about 80%, which means we're already doing better, right? Now, how do we do even better than that? That's this is my issue when
um,
people are like, we're going to teach a gamification design course like through the prism of game design.
well, that's that's a difficult question because I guess there are good game designers and bad game designers. I don't know them personally. I haven't talked to that many of them to say that they are good or bad. I don't know. My philosophy is if you really love what you're doing and if you really like it, you just keep on going, keep on trying, keep on improving, and that should be all right. I don't know if we should compare ourselves to game designers. I think we are doing different stuff. We have elements in common, but we are doing different stuff. Mainly because when you think of game design, in game design, we try people to have fun. Just that is our main objective, like just to entertain people. But with gamification, there is always an objective behind. As Monica Cornetti was saying last week, the objective is our main focus. So that changes everything because we are not designing the experience right to the user, but we have some kind of objective behind. So I think we are doing different stuff, and I don't think that we should compare ourselves. We are just similar. We have some similarities. We are different. So well, I would say we are doing a good job. This is a very young discipline. This is something that just started, and we should keep on going, keep on improving. So that will be my opinion. Just love what you're doing as you are gave, and keep on going.
Do you think that so just kind of dig into this topic for a second. So some people have very strong feelings about this, and other people have very sort of lighter weight feelings about this question, about how this discipline is similar or different. And I think what you said is very true, that often our main difference is we have a business purpose first, and then use these concepts to get people to change their behavior. Whereas a game designer is really like maximum fun and revenue typically, right? And so this is one of the interesting things. Very few gamification projects are actually directly revenue oriented. Do you think there's a difference? Do you think we need to understand some different stuff when we're actually doing things which are where we're trying to directly monetize the gamification elements of an experience? Which is a question I get asked
Well,
periodically from people.
as you said, usually people think of game design as something that has nothing to do with money. That is actually a point that usually people say, no, 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 this is absolutely something that goes directly to fun. We don't really care about money. Money comes later. I've read many books about game design, and they all agree in something. And for example, the one of Scott Rogers, Level Up, he says mainly you need to know game design, and you need to how to, you need to know how to create fun, but money is the thing that is building your game. So you also need a business model behind that. Like one of the things that I usually tell people when they ask for my help when they want to gamify something is, all right, gamification is not this kind of solution for everything. If something is wrong with gamification, it's just going to be is going to be wrong. So we are not solving any kind of problem with that. So the thing is, you need to have a solid business model, and you need to have a solid um, business proposition, or value proposition, if you want to call it like that. So with gamification, it's exactly the same thing. You need to have something good, and then with gamification, it will be better. But usually, the business model goes first. It is, you know what I mean? It's like two parts of it, and you need to get both of them.
So to me, it's kind of interesting. This is one of those more complicated parts of the things that we do. I've often talked about how
Yes,
in
yes.
my job, I often am a therapist to my clients when I first come in, and we have to like dig in on the underlying sort of issues or questions. One question from David actually is more about you, which I think I'm sure that everybody would like to hear a little bit more about kind of your background, Victor. So David wants to know, what kinds of projects do you do, and what's your kind of background? What's your sort of experience? And what do you generally work on?
All right. So let me first start with the beginning, how this all got started, because my my story is a bit weird. Um, 3 years ago, something like 3, 4 years ago, I think 4 years now, we were working on a startup, on a Spanish startup, and it was based on a B2B model. All right. So, but our main thing was to get users engaged. So with that, the problem that we faced is that businesses were absolutely happy with that. They were saying, "Oh, we love this thing. It was a fantastic market research tool." But the problem was that users were absolutely not engaged. So I was playing a lot at that time. I still do. And then I thought, all right, maybe we can put some patches here. Maybe we can put some quests. Maybe we can put some leaderboards. The typically well-known gamification elements. But I didn't know it was called gamification. It was just, all right, let's just try this out. It worked out good, but just in the short term. So as you're always saying, and as everybody knows, points, badges, leaderboards, they don't really work out that good for the long term. So then we just put that, it failed, and I learned a lot from that. I kept on learning from that. So last year I started working for a company that is called Play Judo, as it is the company that is behind the gamification move. And we have this developed two full projects up until now. There are more coming up, but we are just going little by little, slow by slow. And the first one was about social media managers. It was a program to let social media managers work better, communicate better, and let them pretty much work, improve what they were doing. And everybody can see that project. It is called socialrate.com, and it has been implemented until the mid game, or we can call the mid game something like the middle stage of the gamification design development.
Hmm.
And we are still working on the third part, which is the last part with many more mechanics and all this stuff. And the second project that we developed was Chore Wars, obviously the one of Jim McGonigal, that was this kind of serious game. All right, so we did something like that because I tried out Chore Wars by myself with some of the colleagues last year, and it was good, but we learned a lot from that. It is not a complete game. If someone wants to play it, I will strongly recommend that. So we built something for families to gamify their house chores with their kids. So that is called Family Team, and it's already on the App Store, and people can check it out. It is a very basic application because, as you know, you need to submit it to the Apple Store, and then it takes quite some weeks
Sure.
to get everything right. So we are just doing it with small steps, and that was it. And apart from that, I've done a couple of consulting projects just on my own, and one of them was about gamifying waiting times, so people get a bit of fun when they are waiting for someone, which is always which is always
You
nice.
mean like in line or waiting
And
for someone to show up to meet you for dinner since it's Valentine's Day?
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you're late, you're basically paying for it. But well, that is my background. I have many other stuff, but that will be mainly about my project.
It's very
The
interesting.
ones that I can tell you now.
So one question that sort of I'm very interested in the gamifying waiting in line or waiting for people question. One of the startups that's in my startup class here in New York is actually working on some line management thing and helping people, figure out how to make their time in line more productive. So it's definitely something where I think we could definitely bring a little bit of fun. Today it feels like, and I guess this is one question for you. It feels like the smartphone has certainly facilitated a lot of the interactions that we've been talking about. Gamification's been definitely advanced by the availability of smartphones. Do you feel like somebody who's good to learn gamification design to understand it, do you think the person's got to be good at like basic UI things as well? Like what other kinds of skills do people need to be able to wireframe? Do they need to be able to do design? How important is it to have some visual sensibility to be good at gamification design in your viewpoint?
Well, I think like with any other discipline, for gamification, you need a whole bunch of things. Like UI is fantastic, UX is also fantastic. Whatever background you had before, that's all fine. Like many, for example, if you are coming from the US world, that's fine. You can get into it. Like there are many things that are just there. That's I don't know. Many people are coming from different backgrounds. So with the UI, I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't know. I would say it's fine.
What about programming skills? That was Dutch's question. Do you think programming skills are useful? Should people be able to make prototypes?
Yeah, and that was actually one of the key points for us to develop this kind of designer's profile within the course, because many people think, all right, gamification is only technologically based. I was watching the Monica Community show of last week, and she was talking about low tech gamification or no tech gamification. So we have two different profiles within the gamification world, which is the more the designer, more the creative world, and we have the other one that is more the technical world. I think both of them are necessary, mainly because pretty much everything that is going on with gamification nowadays is technologically based, apart from those things that Monica and many other people are doing. So both skills are absolutely necessary. I'm more the designer uh, guy, more the creative guy, but for sure you need a whole bunch of people working on that. And well, for example, in our team of Play Euro, we counted with 3 developers, 2 graphic designers, there were one CTO, there were some leadership team, people coming from the business world. So a whole bunch of people is absolutely necessary to do
Well,
or to develop some kind of gamification experience.
okay, but so that's a pretty big team, Victor. Not everybody got the benefit of being able to work with a big team like that. So what if it's really you're trying to do something quite lean and you're trying to do it with a much smaller group? What kinds of other things do you think matter? So Sasha suggested maybe you don't need to be a programmer, but it helps if you know what's typically possible or easy to implement. Are there other things that have come up for you? Like, can someone really be a good gamification designer if they don't actually understand UI basics?
I wouldn't say so. I think there as this is the same topic with like game design. You can be a game designer, but you cannot be you can be a good gamification designer. So they are different things. They both have their own special things. So if you're a good UI designer, you might be good at gamification. I don't know. It all depends on your background and on your knowledge. So it might be easier for you. It might be easier to get introduced or to the world of gamification. It is like, for example, people that have been playing, I don't know, first-person shooters, and then they change the game and they get into a new one. So that's easier for them. But that doesn't mean that they are going to be good at it.
Right. I think it's a part of the sort of mix of all of this. I had another kind of comment from before from Sasha that I actually want to go back to, and this was when we were talking about user reaction to games versus gamified design. And so one of the things that Sasha was talking about was user reaction if things are not game-like enough in an experience. How do we balance off when you say we've got a business objective and then we're bringing in these gamification concepts? How do we make sure that we're bringing the right amount of game stuff into an experience? How do we balance that out?
So do you mean like the question that Shasha was talking about, like users smell that is not gameful or game-like enough?
My question for you is how do we balance off those game concepts when we're doing a design? So how do you know whether there should be a princess to save or not? How do you know whether we need to have a heads-up display or not? How do you make some of those decisions? Because it tends to kind of
All
fall
right,
into one or the other camp.
all right. That is probably the most difficult part of gamification. And that is something I don't really have an answer for this kind of balancing process. Like there can be some kind of steps to follow when you want to balance your system, but there is no actual way to just have this kind of guidelines to balance every kind of situation. Every situation is different, and every game-like experience or every gamified experience is going to be different. So it's all based on play test, and see how is it going. Like for example, with us in the socialrate.com, we had some kind of problems with the point system, and the only way that we solved it out was just trying and see when the users are happy with that. Because one of the times that we were working with that, we made it too high, then you make it too low. Well, it's just a madness. So you just have to keep on trying, and no one is getting a gamified experience, or no one is getting a game like experience or a game design experience right at once. It's just impossible. The alpha version of your game or your gamified experience is not going to be right at first.
It's never good.
So just keep on
Right.
trying.
You're always going to have to test it and see how it goes from there. I wonder, so
Exactly.
for me, my general philosophy about that is if your first instinct is to make stuff into an actual game, looks like a game with all the kind of game front end and frosting, it's probably not the right instinct. Usually that's in my experience, the reaction of someone who has kind of something that's not really working underneath the covers. Um, and rather, would be something that we'd want to back away from and see how we do it with less overt game-like stuff. Um, to your point though about kind of playtesting, how much time do you think someone should generally plan to spend playtesting an idea? How much time does that take relative to the design phase and the execution phase?
Well, you should be play testing, as we can call it, through all the whole process. Like the gamified experience is never going to be perfect. That is just impossible, because there is always some small thing to adjust, or there are, for example, like in the beginning, you should play test to see if everything is perfectly balanced to what you want to achieve, to see if the experience that you are trying to get to the users is right. But then after the game, or the game-like experience, or the gamified experience has been released, then users and gamers are going to be able to game the system. They're always able to discover what is working better for them, and then you will have to adjust that again. So the play testing process goes all over the whole process. Like for example, and let me go back to a video game example. If you know the game Team Fortress 2 has been there for 4 or 5 years, and they've kept on updating it on almost a weekly or monthly basis. So they just keep on updating, adding more stuff, and just keep on refreshing the content, because users get used to it, and then they need new stuff, and they get used to the winning strategies. You just have to create new ones.
Right. It's
It is a long
it's a
process.
bit of a never-ending treadmill. And so if you want to get started on that treadmill, you can join
Exactly.
Victor for his MOOC. The link is there on the screen in front of you. Victor Manrique, thank you so much for joining us today.
It was a pleasure, Gabe.
And everybody else, thank you for joining us, whether you're live or watching us recorded afterwards here on the Gamification Revolution. Again, you can come and catch me and 50 to 60 other interesting thinkers on the subject of gamification at G Summit this June 10th through the 13th. We'll be back, as always, next week for another episode of the show with more great guests and more interesting discussion about engagement and gamification. In the meantime, to everybody who's with us today, thank you so much for being here. Enjoy yourselves. We'll see you next week. Keep having fun, everybody. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.